All right, so hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today for part 2 of the Illumination Works Advanced AR webinar series. Today's session will feature a demo of PTC's Vuforia Expert Capture. So you'll learn and see how Expert Capture gives powerful AR-enabled instructions that empower frontline workers and improve workforce quality and agility. Just some quick housekeeping notes before we get started. This session is going to be recorded and it will be distributed after completion as well as made available online. We will have some dedicated time to answer questions towards the end of the webinar, but we encourage you to please ask away throughout the webinar. You can put all your questions and type them into the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, or there's also a chat feature that you can utilize. We're gonna jam a lot of great information into just 30 minutes today. So I want to start off with some introductions to our panelists. First of all, John Mitchell, the Chief Technology Officer and CEO of Illumination Works, wearing the Microsoft HoloLens. Hey, John, how you doing?
Hey, Connor.
And Jim Blau, the digital transformation expert at Illumination Works. How are you today, Jim?
Hi, Connor.
So gentlemen, thank you for joining us today and presenting, and to the audience out there, thank you for joining us. Without further ado, I'll pass things off to Jim and we will get started.
Thank you for joining us today. So today we're going to dive a little deeper into Vuforia Expert Capture. We had a session back in the summer months where we kind of introduced capture and capability editor. But we're going to go a little deeper today. To kind of level set everybody, Expert Capture is a fast, easy to use tool that provides AR-enabled instructions, and it will empower our frontline workers. So the key pieces that you see with Expert Capture, and we kind of contrast this to what we saw in our session with Studio, is there are no pre-existing assets. So if I don't have a pre-existing step-by-step instructions, if I do have instructions, they're poor quality, or maybe they don't exist at all, there is no relevant CAD data or any other documented procedures. So I'm in an environment where I don't have a lot of assets. If I did, I would probably be looking more at Studio. In the case with this, with Expert Capture, I'm really focused on that. Also, like Studio, we really focus on highly regulated industries. So where safety and compliance is important. So if we look and kind of review how Expert Capture and the pieces of it, we do capture, and today we're going to actually focus on the Microsoft HoloLens. Last time we used the RealWear device. We're going to spend some time in the editor and some new capabilities that we didn't touch on last time. And then lastly, as part of this, we're actually going to use the HoloLens to kind of go through different steps as I actually view it. The key difference with the HoloLens and the RealWear device is that the HoloLens is location aware, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through. So if we look at the framework that makes up Expert Capture, we have the capture piece. That is what we'll find on the HoloLens, and you'll see John start that up. He will then look at the editor, and we'll spend some time in the capabilities of the editor, also the administrative tool. We're going to kind of end on that where we talk about some of the how you can actually kind of control the procedures and access to the procedures. And then Vuforia View. So Vuforia View is what we use with Studio. That same tool that could be on any type of device. And today we're looking at it as part of the HoloLens, but it can go across. The other key part of this is a cloud-based solution. So you can see that as we look at the framework. So today we're going to touch on two areas, and John's going to go a little bit more detail on this, but we're going to look at something called mission points with the HoloLens. And then we're also going to look at some advanced capabilities within the editor. So with that, the HoloLens is a hands-free device, similar to what we saw with the RealWear device. It allows us to capture expertise from our SMEs. It also, as I mentioned, is location aware. So it knows specifically physical locations, and you'll see how that works when we go through the demo. It is a device agnostic command, so as we saw last time, and you'll hear John, he'll go next step, next capture. He also, with the HoloLens, he can also use gestures, and you'll see him going like this as he goes and steps through different parts of the tool. We see that this idea of location awareness, which is really key with the HoloLens, and that's where I get to this concept of mission points. Mission points, as I step through my procedure, I can go through locations, and John will do a great job of really showing us how that is. And as I step to each step, I can add, if I would like, a mission point that I can use to kind of guide my operator through the procedure. So that will be the first part of the demo. We'll then spend some time with the editor. The editor, as we recall from our last session, is an authoring tool. It doesn't take a developer. It doesn't take someone who is overly advanced. You can use an administrator. You can use someone who understands this, especially someone who has worked with other video editors. I'm able to take what I capture and what John captures with the HoloLens or the RealWear device, and then I can add other content to that. And we'll see how that works as we kind of go through the session. So some of the advanced things we want to talk about today is creating images from video. So we'll have a video clip, and then we'll actually take a specific image from that, which we can add to a step in our procedure if we want to highlight that. The other thing we're going to look at is the concept of annotations and editing. That's where similar to what we saw when we did the chalk webinar back in the summer, is we can add annotations, arrows, text, and you'll see the host of those, of how they work. And here's a list. So I can do tests, I can do icons, shapes. I can actually draw freehand on my video or my image. I have the ability to rotate and flip and crop. So all the things you would typically want to see in a video editor, I have those capabilities within Capture. I also can clip videos. So let's say I create a video, it may be too long, or I even have the ability maybe to extend that. But in this case, I would maybe clip off beginning and end, or whatever, and then I would create a new video, which I can then bring into my procedure. I also have the ability to remove or add audio. So let's say I'm in an environment where maybe it's noisy or something goes wrong when I record it as part of my session. I can delete that and add in my new audio without having to re-record that step. And then lastly, this concept of access control and compliance. Expert Capture is a true enterprise tool. So as you can imagine, you want to maybe limit who can get to a procedure or what they can do with the procedure, and John's going to show that to us. So that's what we're going to touch on, the HoloLens first and then the editor second. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to John for the demo.
Thanks, Jim. Next slide, please. So from a demo perspective, there are some dependencies that are worth noting here. We obviously have to have a piece of equipment. I'm wearing a HoloLens 2. It's the next generation. We have to have an active internet connection. So my HoloLens is currently configured to log into my local Wi-Fi. I have to be logged into my Vuforia account. We need the latest software updates for HoloLens 2, the version numbers here on the screen, and the latest software for Vuforia Capture, which actually updated itself this morning. I'm going to be using the Microsoft HoloLens companion application on a Windows 10 desktop to show you a live stream of what I'm seeing with the HoloLens. and it's worth noting the HoloLens is using computer vision, simultaneous localization and mapping, or SLAM, to create the mesh of my surroundings. And what that allows us to do is take advantage of that with Vuforia Capture and place these locations or mission points in my space, which are very useful for guided procedures where location dependencies are very necessary for that. Very similar to the Wayfinder capability in Vuforia Studio that we showed everyone in our last webinar a couple weeks ago. So from an agenda perspective, I'm going to go over mission points, video and photo editing in the editor, and then granular level of permissions. So I'm going to switch over to my screen now. Jim, you see my screen okay?
I sure can.
All right, so what you're seeing here on my screen is my view of the HoloLens. And so I'm kind of looking back and forth. There's a little bit of a lag as I move, and I should see the Vuforia capture application kind of hovering in midair on your screen. So first and foremost, I'm going to say new capture. New capture. Pause capture. So here in this screen, as it refreshes here for you guys, this is my main tool, my main interface. It's kind of floating in space. As I change my gaze, it moves with me. So let me pan back and forth here. A little bit of, like I said, a little bit of lag on the screen. But as I gaze, I'm capturing video, although in this particular instance, I've paused my capture. So I'm going to resume my capture. Resume capture. Resume capture. So in step one, I have to place a location. Save location. And what you guys are going to see is a wayfinder mark that's going to pop up here on the screen here in a second, marked with 1. And this is my first location where I'm doing my procedure. I'm potentially interacting with a piece of equipment. Next step. So as I move to another location, place location. Save location. Next step. Place location. Save location. Finish capture. Save capture. So what you guys were able to see was I could place a mission point on a flat surface or on a vertical surface. As I kind of navigate around this room here, I'm going to save that file to my HoloLens, and then I can go through the same steps that I did with the RealWare to create my procedure. So we're going to go to the Vuforia editor. And as I log in, I'm able to kind of create a new procedure, same way I did with the RealWare device. I browse to my capture because what I've done is I've downloaded this entire folder to my desktop. Grab that, I'm going to click create. It's going to save those files up. I cancel that, it's running a little slow. So once I have this up, I have a pre-positioned, this is a previous one I created. I have some best practices I've adopted. So each one of these steps has the steps that the text that's going to display. It has the associated videos. And these mission points are going to be something different from the previous webinar we did because now I have these location markers. In this particular procedure, I actually only have 3 locations, but I have 4 steps. And that's a scenario where I have multiple steps or I have multiple things that I have to do at the same location that when I'm breaking that up, I can stay at that same location, and we'll actually show that in Vuforia View here in a second. I'm going to go through the same steps that I did in our previous webinar to create this. I'm going to add all my steps, create all my images, and then publish this out to the web. So I'm going to flip back to my HoloLens and show you guys what this looks like. This is my main menu. So I'm gonna go all apps, all apps, all apps. We're gonna pull up Vuforia View. Move that out of the way. So I'm going to pull up the previous QR code. That's how we're going to access this procedure.
Loading experience.
What you guys will see here is my procedure window kind of floating in space. I'm going to start that with a gaze. I'm going to put my mouse over my white mouse over the start procedure, and it's going to start the procedure. And what you're going to see in space, if I look up here, I've got these wayfinder arrows, and the message is I have to follow these markers to proceed to my mission point. Very similar to in Vuforia Studio, where it's guiding me to the next location for my procedure. My mission point is active, and once my mouse cursor clicks on that one, it launches that first step. I'm able to scroll through the sub-steps of my procedure, finish that, and I'm going to go to the next step. What I told you earlier was this particular procedure has 2 steps at the same location, so I don't have to move in order for this procedure to load. However, if I go to the 3rd step, I now have my mission marker, my markers to proceed to the next mission point, which for this one is over here at this other computer. Final step. I have one over here on the outlet on the wall. So that's my recording and publishing of my wayfinder markers, my mission points. I'm going to take the HoloLens off. And then we're going to go through the editor capabilities, particularly how to create video clips from existing video, create new images from existing assets, as well as how to do some editing of those. So when my capture loads, I have this step. I mentioned earlier, the original settings, both the HoloLens 2 and the RealWear device record video in HD. So the system is going to create an optimized or standard definition video for me to use. And what that's going to do is shrink the size of the files so that the downloads to the device to Vuforia View are going to be a little quicker. I click on the edit button, and I have the ability to start interacting with the video and with the images. So I'm going to create a new video clip. What this is going to do is activate some boundary boxes for here in green. And I can do things like I can combine clips So I can take this and say, hey, you know what, step 1 and step 2 really belong together. Create me a new video of those 2 combined steps. Or the other option, which we found very useful, is clipping off the next step or pause capture audio when I'm doing a record to kind of clean up and polish up my video clip. So let's just say I'm going to take the first second off and maybe the last couple seconds off of this video. I click on accept. Excuse me. I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to drag this clip down into this box, which is going to give me the option to create 1 or more video clips. When I click save, I can name that. I have the ability to add it to an existing step, or I could just create this video to use later. So I can add it to the asset library where I can consume it later. We're going to add it to step 4. I also have the ability to remove the audio. So what that does is totally strip out any audio from this new clip. Or as Jim mentioned earlier, if I have a noisy environment, if I misspoke during my recording procedure, I don't have to record this whole procedure again. If the video, if the pictures and the video itself are fine, I can just re-record the audio over that by clicking on this button, starting to record. Does a little bit of a 3-dot countdown. And now I'm talking through my mic. The system's re-recording the audio. So this new clip is going to have different audio than the original clip. I click done. I'm going to say create clip. As I go down here to step 4, we're going to see this new condensed clip being added to step 4 on the fly. There's a little green dotted speaker icon down here, and this is basically telling me that this particular clip, the audio has been replaced from the original. If I go up to step 1, I have a couple other ones that I did in previous tests. This particular one has all of the audio removed, and so there's 0 audio in that. So a couple other things. We've mentioned a number of times that one of the best practices for expert capture is the first kind of sub-step in a procedure step is to have a picture. So with this, I have the ability to create a new image. This red line indicator, I can move to any number of positions across my timeline. And I can create an image based on that position in the video. This is, I can record these images during my procedure when I'm actually doing the recording. I personally like doing it post procedure capture. Makes my procedure video smoother. I have to do less editing post record. And at the same time, once again, I can add it to my asset library, put it in different steps. And as you can see, I've got this new image that I've pulled down into there. So another feature that's actually pretty slick, I'm going to create a new image. In this step, I can say edit, and I now have the ability to add annotations. So I have some basic video editing. I can crop, I can flip this, I can rotate it, I can do freestanding draw, I can add shapes, I can add icons. So if I want to draw particular attention to this printer, I can say, look here, there's a location marker. This is an important spot that I need to worry about. And they have the ability to add text over that. A little bit small for this instance. Let's kind of undo that. We don't like the way that looks. Let's increase my text size. There's a little bit of test text here, although it's kind of hard to read there. I click done. I'm going to create this image as well, and we're going to add it to step 1. Now I have, well, that's a previously created one. some reason it didn't record. So the final piece of the demonstration, once I've published my procedure, I have the sharing ability. I go into my details tab, and I have the ability to look at who has access from an editing perspective. And in this case, I'm the only one that has permissions to edit this procedure. And all the other members of my organization, my subscription, do not have access to do any editing. I can get to a granular level of view capability. However, I click on this Manage Published Procedures button. And these are all of our procedures that we've published. This is a setting where the entire organization can view it. This particular demo, nobody's allowed to view it, but I can change that a couple different ways. I can click on it, and I can say, you know, who all can access this particular instance. I did it at all members, but let's change this one that doesn't have any access. I can click on the box. I can say edit. I can look up, let's add Jerry to this. And we want Jerry to be able to view that. I click save. And I now have some users can view. So I have this orange indicator. So this allows me a more granular level of control of my procedures. So if I have a certain group of users that don't need access to, say, installation versus repair type instructions, we can limit the amount of folks that have access to that. And it really helps with being able to search through Vuforia View, as well as if you have procedures from a security controls or other type of policy perspective that that shouldn't be viewed by some users, you can control it that way. So with that, I'm going to turn this back over to Jim.
Thank you, John. So hopefully you found that very interesting, the demo. So as we talk about expert capture and what it really does for us is, again, it allows us to capture the expertise of our experts, our SMEs. I then have the ability to enhance that. As you saw, John changed and edited different videos. He added in annotations. He created new videos, all types of capabilities that I can do within the editor. And then I can scale it out. And like I said, today we showed you with the HoloLens, but once this is created, it can be scaled out to all types of devices, handhelds, tablets, wearables, desktop, and even to Word. So we have that capability, and just by publishing it to a different medium. So if we look at what expert capture really delivers, it delivers the ability to capture and share best practices. I can take that information and I want to follow it. As today you can see, I can even do that from a location standpoint and step people through it. I can scale the knowledge of my top employees. So I can capture that. In our case, right, John would be our expert, and we could capture all his knowledge, and then we can actually scale that out to your entire workforce. At the same time, keeping your employees compliant, keeping them safe, especially in today's environment. So we appreciate you joining the session today. We will have upcoming webinars in 2021. We're going to focus a little bit more on the IoT and smart factories, smart bases capability with IoT. We also will be continuing our discussions at AR as we see there's more capabilities. So we look at that. Keep track. Follow us on LinkedIn. Follow us on Facebook. All of the different social media. And we really appreciate it. If you have any questions, we'd love to hear from you, whether it be today on specifics, you'd like to learn more about Vuforia and how it could benefit your company. We'd love to meet with you. We'd love to show you the capabilities of what we can do with expert capture specifically. So with that, I thank you, and I will turn it back over to Connor.
Jim, and thanks, John. To the audience that joined us today, thank you. I did just launch an anonymous poll for you to fill out. These are the first step is just fill the 2 questions here. We're just looking for some feedback on the webinar today. So if you would kindly just take a few seconds to answer those, and then we're going to launch a second poll just to find out a little bit more about you, the audience, and kind of gauge where you may be at in your AR journey. In the meantime, I did see, it looks like there was a question that came into the chat. So Cody is asking, does Vuforia editor have closed caption capabilities? So John,
Yeah,
maybe you can answer
the
that
short
one.
answer is natively no. In order to get closed caption capabilities, we've done some work where we take the video files out of the editor and use a third-party editor like Maestro to add closed caption capabilities, to add split video capabilities, or to do picture-in-picture capabilities. And then we just import those videos as video assets back into the editor. So it's kind of a 2-step process. That's the way we've been able to do some of that work for other folks. There is no current capability, but I know that they're releasing capability every month. In fact, my HoloLens updated this morning, and with new capability, and I believe that there are more advanced editing capabilities on the roadmap for expert capture.
Perfect, thank you. And if anyone else has any other questions, if you want to stick around for, I know we're a little bit over the half-hour time, but you can enter them to the Q&A box. And that second poll did just launch, just again, looking for some feedback from you, the audience, try to understand where you may be at in your AR journey. So if you can please take a few seconds to fill that out. And then we'll wrap this thing up. Just a final reminder that this was recorded, so the recording will be made available to you within the next 48 hours, and you should be hearing from Illumination Works and the marketing team with that recording. All right, I think we're going to go ahead and end the polling now. So again, thanks to everyone for joining today, and Jim and John, thank you for the presentation, and everyone be well. That's going to conclude this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.